You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jordan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Boom! That's exactly it.
Do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, we're back, baby.
We are back.
It's been too long.
Yeah, where you been, man?
Well, we missed a week. I've been out traveling. You've been doing stuff and with your things, and it's like when a nationally recognized newscaster goes away for summer vacation. The country feels like it missed something. And so I feel very, very similar to
nationally recognized newscaster.
Yeah, that's right. Nationally recognized. That's right. No, I was thinking about our guest. Actually, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
So I was doing
before we get into that, because I know there's a lot of people that are interested in a real salesman selling a commodity with Joe Miller. If you're watching on any of these other tubes, we're on all of them, all but a few. And the place to be is on Amazon. And in order to do that, all you got to do is go to the Pitchman. .live. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, if you're watching on the Book of Face, the Tube of Eunice, what's your phrase for Twitter, Dan? Was that
I have none, but thank you so much.
I don't know. What is that?
Yeah, it's a tough one without getting blue. To do about the Twitter thing. Yeah.
Right.
So I stay away from it. Yeah.
So I've got a really quick thing that we should talk about. And so our friend Victor Antonio.
Yes.
He and I do some things together in terms of business and I do some stuff for him. And of all this time that I've known him, he's never personally recommended a book to me. Never. And I've always felt like, well, because he's sales trainer and all of that, it's not necessarily me. But he did recommend this book in particular to me, and it's called The Courage to be Disliked. Dan, have you heard of this book before?
I haven't, but I love the title.
Right. So exactly. And I feel like this is something that you're going to have to jump on Amazon.
I'm going to get it right now.
Click into Dealcasters first so we can get your commission.
Yes.
But this is how to free yourself, change your life, and achieve real happiness. And it was written a number of years ago by two Japanese gentlemen, Ichiro Kashimi and Fumitake Koga. And it's the story of a guy who meets a mentor and teaches him basically that we are living in the moment and how to deal with past trauma. And because we get what's called memory distortion. And so things that may have been bad that are considered trauma are not actually as bad as you feel they are now. And so it's about living in the moment going forward. And he's using it. He's using some of these principles on a new book that he's written that's coming out in January. And so I thought that would be if Victor Antonio recommends a book to me personally, you gotta do it. So there you go.
Great. Are these guys still alive?
I don't know, but if they're not, I'm sure they died happy.
Okay. But that's true. I love that, because I have active memories of things. Mm-hmm. I mean, full-fledged memories of, how I felt that never happened. Like I've created them. But if you can do that for good stuff, you could also magnify the bad stuff and think it was so awful. but I love that. I love that book. And that's great. And that's real. You know, the thing when you're a salesperson, there's so much psychology that you're playing head games with yourself all the time. And the newcomers that are coming out don't realize that, man. It's a game. Every day is in and out. And so I'm so pleased to be able to have like a real old school dude to learn stuff from. And he's part of my little community here of people that he looks like a mafia guy there with his, but you know, he tries to lighten himself up with those glasses. But without all that, please help me welcome my friend, Joe Miller.
Joe,
Jeez, baby, Mr. Stone.
That's right.
How you guys doing?
I like the way you live up to the mafia thing with the black on black. It's very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mess with you, but that's awesome. So listen, first of all, here I said you're like big old school and all that stuff, but look at you with the mic on there. Look at with the headset, like some sort of rock star.
This came from you. This is the Blue Parrot headset you talked about and actually sang a song about. It was like this is the, you know, I'm like you. I make a lot of phone calls. My wife gave me the first Nokia Bluetooth headset. This is like early 2000s. It was pretty decent. And if I haven't had 50, 60 headsets since then, I hadn't had one. This one right here for a salesperson. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's going to be the best sound quality ever in the audio. I don't really care about that. What I care about is what comes out on the other side of the mic. And that's where all of those systems fail. That's why this, to me, is the best thing to wear. I wear it in the car, wear it in the office, no sound distortion.
I wear it in the shower because that's what I do.
I actually wore it cutting grass.
I'm just my son has a big tractor, like a skid steer with a big motor on a big head. It's loud as the dickens. He has that thing on in the tractor, and everything goes. Look at Grady Gibson. Oh, so. I've heard the same. What is he saying? He said he heard the same song. All right. Yeah. Is that what's going on, Grady Gibbs? You're begging me to sing the Blue Parrot song?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is that what happened? You know, that's the thing about him. The guy. I love Grady Gibbs. I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but for right now,
he had a great visit. But it's all about the man here, Joseph Miller, and what I love about the Blue Parrot, and we should roll into the discussion because I'm curious that. But like, you can go driving, and you know, you've talked on the phone before. You talk with earbuds or whatever. People know you're driving. They can hear if you're going over 55, they can tell. When you have that Blue Parrot on, people think you're at your office and you're sitting there, and so you can get away with a lot. People will even comment, you know, because everyone's you're driving and then you get to where you're going and you get out of your car and you say, oh, hold on a second, I got to walk in, and they're like, where were you? And you're like, it like freaks them out. I've had people on in this with convertibles. I've actually personally been blowing leaves with my leaf blower. Of course, I was using my DeWalt electric leaf blower, and so it's not nearly as loud, but still, they didn't get it.
Yeah, so, I'll tell you, I'll add a caveat to that. Yeah, and I live in Houston, so it's all you have your air conditioner on here every day. I don't care if it's winter time or not.
That's right.
And when you got that thing blowing in the microphone, it makes a big difference when you got this microphone on, because you can really talk. Because I've actually recorded myself in the car to see what it sounds like. You can't even hear the air conditioning, let alone the car. It makes a big difference.
That's awesome. You know, but that's true, because you're, you know, as a salesperson, the most important thing is communication, how people hear you and how you come across. And people will put up with a lot, but poor sound quality, you know, it makes you angry. It makes the person who's hearing it angry. It's frustrating because, and here's another thing. What happens whenever your phone messes up, people always, for whatever reason, blame the other guy, you know? So it's like, what's wrong with your phone? You know, so even if it's your phone, you're still mad at them. So it's like, it's not good for sales. It's just
not at all.
To have bad sound quality. So
and then you got to go, oh, I'll call you back later when I get, you know, and then you may never get a chance to call him back later.
Okay, well, so listen, I'm going to tell Chris Stone a story. So Chris Stone, Joe Miller, I have around me, for whatever reason, like the loveliest people. I mean, everybody is so supportive and helpful and all that stuff. So I had an incident. I had an incident last week. I was speaking and I had three events. But the first one, you know, I was driving up to I'm one of those crazy people. Listen, I just don't want to wear a mask. All right. It's okay. I understand. I don't care if you're going to wear a mask. I just don't want to wear it. Okay. So I went to New Jersey and I drove from Atlanta to New Jersey and to Philadelphia and all that stuff because I wanted to avoid wearing the mask. We'll talk about the drive later. But when I got there, I found that there was a big sign that says to enter the place that I was going to give my presentation, must wear a muzzle. And so I sent it out and I put it on LinkedIn. And what should I do? Anyway, there were people that were angry at me. But my man, Joe Miller, comes to my defense with everything. So people are trying to be mean to me, and he's like giving it to him. Like, I don't even care. So I want to publicly thank you for that, Joe Miller. But also, in the spirit of that same book that you were talking about, Chris Stone, I got the courage to be disliked. I couldn't care less. Doesn't bother me. I much rather have the conversation. Now, Joe, you're old school like that too. So how do you deal with, the new wave of people that are, try to avoid any sense of confrontation? You can't sell unless there's a little resistance.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
How do you do it?
Yeah. Well, I would be the first one to actually sign up for that book. So, confrontation is part. I mean, you've got to find a way to tamp that down and find another way around it. I find it to be more confrontational today probably than it has been 10, 20, 30 years ago. The thing to me is always try to find some common ground where you can work on and then go from there. But
you're dealing with
really leave politics out of it, all of that stuff out.
That's it now, because that was the old school way of thinking. Listen, don't talk about religion, politics, and what's the third one? Chris Stone, I'm looking at you. Religion, politics,
religion and politics.
Yeah.
Money, that might be
money.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're not supposed to talk, but now it's like that's the first question.
It is. Many times it is.
Did you vote for Trump? All right, whether you're in or out. I mean, that's like they want to find that out before they even continue conversation.
Right.
So
one of the first things you want to know, I mean, one of the first things you want to know about a person is, can you connect with them? And I think people of like mind usually do business together, and that's a really, to me, a bad recipe when you have a confrontation up front and it's not going to work. I'm not saying it's all going to work anyway in the end, but you got to have at least a chance to get to work at to have a chance to have an opportunity to get a sale.
So you're working with
confrontation.
You're working with big companies. You're working with kind of companies that have human resource departments, type of thing.
Yes.
So and these people that you're dealing with now, they're not the same people that we used to deal with, growing up. So what's been the biggest changes in your mind, and how have you had to change?
You got to deal with a lot more restrictions on what you can do. I mean, particularly since COVID, I mean, there are things that we just can't do like we used to do in the office.
Well, give me an example.
We haven't had in Texas. We haven't had to deal with the vaccine mandate, but masking and distancing. Mm-hmm. We work in a service business that repairs stuff. We have to have people on the floor. There are hundreds and hundreds of people repairing computers and medical devices. You got to be there. So and these companies that we work with are mandating what's going to happen. What do you do as a vendor for them? So a lot of that has changed. So you got to work around those parameters. These are big. I mean, these multi-billion-dollar companies, names that you would know.
Yeah.
And you've got to work around those things. There's just really no way around it. There isn't a whole lot of flexibility. So you've got to do it. Okay, you got to make the changes to do it. It's just there's the only way around it. Things are a lot different when you're working with big multinational billion-dollar corporations.
Exactly. So, I mean, and now is that stuff written into the contract? Like when
Now,
you get,
it wasn't necessarily written in the contract, but they could certainly take that contract away if you didn't comply with what they wanted to do.
okay. So you, how did you get those? If you don't want to say the name, that's fine. But a lot of people, you're in sales and you get into a certain level, a certain kind of size company that you're working with.
Right.
But those big ones could really, they're life changers. You know, you
Yes,
start doing
absolutely.
business with IBM, Chris Stone, it's a life changer. You know, things can happen. So how do you work your way into that?
Well, let me give you a little bit of a background story.
Yeah.
The company's called CSAT Solutions, CSAT for customer service. The gentleman I work with and report to is the president and founder of the company. He built it really on his own backbone and his own work ethic. The guy is he is a driving machine. He's an electrical engineer by trade. Worked for TI, then went and started repairing boards for a big corporation. I'm not going to name the name, but big corporation in Austin, Texas, and eventually got all of that service business. And he's done the same thing for two other mega corporations, one of which has a fruit in its name that does a lot of repair for those laptops.
So you
he has a
basically
big
fix
corporation. Yeah, he had a big corporation, and he and I got together to do it for medical. What was interesting about the first big company we got, they're a sterilizer company, is we did it kind of small ball, really. I sent an email blindly to someone because I thought they would have this problem. I saw a product that they repaired, saw it at a trade show. I said, this is going to be a problem for them. I sent an email cold. The next day I got a call. And then the next day when you get a call from a cold email, there's a problem all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where we
So
started.
hold on. You figured out what their problem was going to be.
That's correct.
Just by seeing their product at a trade show.
That's correct.
You saw that is it a laptop? Their laptop was going to break or whatever.
Yeah, it was a medical device, but it's same concept.
How could you tell that it wasn't that they were going to have problems with it?
Well, because they were putting electronics inside of something that got wet or potentially wet. So that was going to cause a lot of problems. And it did. And then I started doing some quick research, called some people I knew, like, hey, tell me about this device. Well, it always has this problem. And that's when I called and sent the email and said, I know you're having this problem, and I think we can fix it.
All right. So this is great
that's
stuff.
Where we got started.
This is great stuff. So this is exactly, as a salesperson, he's not looking he's not looking for, to sell his product. He's looking for people who have the problem. And that's what you have to do. Approach people that have a high likelihood of having the problem and get in touch with them somehow and have them raise their hand if they are. That's just so, fundamental, basic stuff.
It's so basic. It's so basic, and and in a way, it's very easy. It's certainly, you could be on Twitter all day sending tweets out and nothing. But when you're very targeted like that with one or two or three people inside of even a large corporation, that's so much easier.
So now, how did you get how did you get that person's email address?
Now I worked that through LinkedIn. So I figured out who the guy was I needed to speak with in a corporation. I emailed him. He then emailed the general manager in that division that same day. And then I got a phone call the next day from the general manager. And he confirmed exactly what I thought was, I think you have a problem here. I'm not sure if you do. I saw this at a trade. I told him exactly what I said. I saw this at a trade show. I think this is a problem. And he goes, it's a big problem. And I said, I think we can help you. And that's how we got started.
You see, I think this is just so inbred. I think this is beautiful. So you just find the tools around you. You know what your goal is, and you just find the tools around you to make that happen. And so
Yep.
that was one cold email to one person. It wasn't a blast. It was one cold email to one person, but you knew exactly what their problem would be, and that's what you keyed in on. I think that's beautiful. That's great. How did you come up with that? Is that did you learn that, or is that just something through
Well, I mean, part of it is
1,000 years?
yeah, I mean, some of it is training. Some of it is back in about the late 90s, I got into direct mail and direct marketing, mail marketing. And a lot of that, I would, one recommendation is if you're in sales and you do a lot of writing, get some copywriting experience. I don't care where you get it from. Get some copywriting experience.
Yeah. Dan Kennedy. Is that your
Love
guy?
Dan Kennedy. Ultimate sales letter, man.
Jay Abrams. You know, he just sold. That's a great book, by the way. If you want to get it on and it's a classic. And it's
classic.
For as far as a copy goes, it might be all you need. It has the whole thing. It has the headlines in there. It has copy. It has the calls to action. It has the PSs on the bottom. That's a little trick, by the way, copyright world. People will read the headline, they'll skim through there, and then they'll definitely read the PS on the bottom. Yeah. You never send a letter without a PS. But very good. By the way, do you know that Dan Kennedy sold, and then he got it back, but he just recently resold all his intellectual material to Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels.
Yeah, and Russell Brunson's going to kill it with that. He's going to kill it.
Well, he's been using it all along. You can tell. Yeah. All these people. You kind of see Frank Kern, same thing. All these guys have the same type of stuff, which is this is what salespeople do. You get together and you talk about other people. So let me ask you this, because I always find this out. Tell me a story, because how you got into this, about you before you were 12. When you're like 12 years old, tell me a story.
By
the way, this is absolutely cold. This is absolutely cold. But I know that every salesperson has a story when they're 12 years old that changed their life.
Yeah. This is going to be crazy, but it's true. My family were workaholics. I mean, they would just, and I don't mean it in a sense of negatively. I mean it positively. They liked it. They worked. My dad was a pipe fitter. My mother was a secretary for a district court judge. We also lived with my grandmother. She cooked at the elementary school down the block. My uncle lived next door. He worked at a department store. But they were like a team. They worked as a unit doing different things. Like they always had projects they were working on. Well, I was 12 years old, and my dad thought it would be a really good idea for me to go to work. So my uncle, who ran a business, he was an air conditioning business, gets me a job, of all things, digging graves in New Orleans at a cemetery, literally by hand. I mean, and people say, well, in New Orleans, you don't dig graves. Well, yeah, you do. I dug them, I can tell you. But what happened was, for some reason, the owners of the cemetery, they obviously ran it as a business. It was independent. It wasn't like a big they didn't have those things back then. They had one cemetery that they ran. And Mr. Metalbron actually sat me down and showed me his business plan of how he put it all together. And that's, And I'm forever grateful of Mr. and Mrs. Metalbron. They were great to me. They gave me plenty of money to go to college later on. I worked for them every summer and every time I was off in high school and in college. And my family wasn't in businesses. Yeah. They were just laborers and they worked hard. He's the first guy that taught me about business and how to do it. Yeah.
Isn't that great?
His name was Gabby Metalbron. Thank you, Mr. Metalbron. Long deceased, but a great guy.
Yes, I will do no cemetery jokes. I will do that, because I hate those. I hate the obvious ones, but there is one good. So what did what did one casket say to the other casket?
What's
Your
that?
Coffin?
Is that you, Coffin? Oh,
yeah, I knew that. I knew it was in there somewhere.
I thought that I was waiting for somebody to answer the phone. You kill them, we chill them. So,
oh god,
that never happened though.
You never had that, but that's terrific, and that's what something I said. I talk to old people anytime for a new salesperson. I was telling to somebody at a networking meeting we had a couple of weeks ago, and it was a new guy who was just getting in, and I told him, man, the first thing you need to do is go to some of your existing clients, an older person, an older man in general, and say, hey, you're new, you just want to find out about the business, why they like the product so much, blah blah blah, and ask for their advice, and let yourself be nicely nestled in under their wing, and let them take you where they want to go. Because this business, Mr. Metalbrom, what's his name again? Metalbrook?
Metalbron, Bronn, Mr. Metalbron.
Mr. Metalbron had a need to share. He wanted to help you.
They had no children. This is the thing.
Yeah.
They had no kids.
So he has a vested interest in your success. And for all new salespeople, find somebody older, because they want to get it out. And as soon as you accept their advice, when you accept somebody else's advice, they have a vested interest in you, and they will take pride in your success, whatever it is, and they'll introduce you to more people, and they'll totally help you. Do that what if you had 5 or 6 metal bombs?
Oh man.
Okay, I mean, it's huge.
One was great for me. I couldn't imagine having 5. It would be crazy good.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So Crispin Cruz was here, and he says Joe Miller is the man. And I'll tell you what, Joe Miller contacted Crispin Cruz a while back, and they did a little coaching together, what have you. And instead of to Joe Miller's credit, even though the deal didn't work out, whatever, do you know he sent money? Sent money just because he felt he got value. He sent money. And that's and you know what, that builds a friend for life.
Absolutely. I mean, if you feel you got value out of it, I'm willing to pay for that kind of. That's the other thing too, is pay for your own success too. Get trained. I mean, not training today. I don't see training. Chris, I just don't see a lot of training anymore. In corporations, I see none of it actually.
Really? Because they all say that they do. That's what everybody offers. They say, "Listen, come work with us, and you'll get training." Now, I know that you're going out later this week to go see Joe Peachy.
Yeah, Sunday.
Yeah, see, that's a whole thing.
Is it boot camp time for you?
Yep.
Yeah,
boot camp time.
All right.
Do you do that every year?
I do something like that every year, or multiple times a year. I like to do it twice a year, some type of, and this is my first time with Joe, but yeah, I spend on training, even at 60 years old, I keep doing it. It just, I'll get something out of it that's going to change the way I do business. I know it. I already have that mindset. I know it's going to happen. On your own dime. On my own dime. You see, that's what the superhuman salesperson does. Superhuman does certain things. They get constant training or coaching, and they have some sort of virtual assistant. And out of your own pocket, you got to pay for that yourself. And once you do that, you could just accomplish nearly anything. I tell everybody that when they get a sales job, use part of your I call it a down payment. Use part of your base salary as your expenses, and incorporate. Do you have an LLC, your personal LLC? Yes. Joe Miller? Yeah. So instead of paying you as a W-2 employee, you pay your 1099, you get to keep all the money, then you get to expense things like your CRM, like your trading, like your virtual assistant. And then ultimately you pay less on taxes because you only pay on the profit. You see, you think like a businessman. If a salesperson would think like a businessman, and that's it. And so all these products that are available that were available for large companies are now available for individuals. You can get them right here on Amazon. Even just staying in shape, even setting up your office. If you want to get lights for your office or a background for your office. I'm not really on the I thought you were in the penthouse, man. Yeah. You can buy all that stuff.
I love the fact that we're talking about investing, Joe, in our businesses, and because I think especially entrepreneurs, they're focused on, what is the profit center, but they would invest in their 401k or IRAs and things like that. But you have to, in order to get better, you got to be a lifelong learner, like Dan was talking about. But the thing I love about you is you just said, I got value out of this. So here I'm paying you. No one asked, right? And so now there's all these things that are out there that people have set up for themselves, whether it's Patreon or what's called Buy Me a Coffee. And basically you just set yourself up and you say, hey, if you want to buy me a coffee, here it is. And it's like $5, right? And so if you feel like, you wanted to buy somebody a coffee because you watched their YouTube video or their live stream on Amazon and you got some value out of it, well, then go buy them a coffee or buy them 20 coffees or, it just sort of, because that's the kind of, sort of Bob Burg giving mentality, and don't give and expect that that's somehow going to, $1 million is going to come back, right? Give because you got value and then it comes around, right?
There is a karma associated with it. I've never given where I have I given and never received? Yeah. But I can tell you, and very recently, I was at Home Depot to a couple of homeless people up in there, and I gave them some money, and we sat and talked for an hour. I felt like I got more value than they did.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, that happens, and I think that's if you go for the right reason. You went to Home Depot not for that. You went to Home Depot for something else. I was this morning at actually a Bible study. It was at 7:30 in the morning at some business downtown, and I went there. It was just a new thing. They're trying to start it up, and I'm just supporting them starting up this thing. And so I go there, and there was another new person there, and he was talking this other thing, and blah blah blah. And he was a guy from Africa. By the way, you know what his name was? Oh my gosh, world's best name. His name was Awesome. Like that was his name. It was actually his middle name, but he used it. His name was Awesome. I'm like,
wow. I can't believe I didn't name one of my sons that.
I know. I was thinking winner.
That is literally awesome.
He was from Africa, and so whatever. And then I talked to him later. He goes, listen, I kind of named myself, but it's my middle name and I use it as my first. And so anyway, but his name is Awesome. People call him Awesome all the time. So, and he was talking to another guy. He had just gotten here and he's a developer. And the guy said, we need a new developer, a website developer here. Can you do this? Anyway, he was going there for the right reasons to better himself and become more spiritual, what have you. And he walked out with a new account.
Yeah.
And so you just got to get out there and get involved. In terms of the homeless thing, I had done that too. I love taking people out. I do what you do. I don't just give them money. I say, come with me. We'll go to Burger King. And we go and we sit down for a while. One guy I took, and after he was done, he smelled really bad. I took him to a hotel. I said, why don't you just take a shower, stay the night? And so I got him something in a Motel 6, which was great. I felt really good about myself until about a month later, I get a phone call from my wife. The heck are you doing at a Motel 6 on a Thursday afternoon?
So you got in trouble, but the value of that story is just
there you go. That's right, Chris.
This is good. So Joe Miller, tell me old school. One story when I was in Manhattan, we used to start we used to go to a big building, start on the top floor and just work our ways out, knocking in on doors and things like that. Obviously we can't do that anymore. But do you have stories like that? How did you get started getting new business back in the day?
Back in the day, it was completely knocking on doors. Absolutely.
Really?
I was selling radiology equipment. I'd walk right in their radiology department and start talking to the radiologist. And there was some, back in the day, I was selling, large capital equipment, $300,000 to up to $1 million worth of equipment.
Dang.
Back in the 90s, I had Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and people go, that territory sucks, man. I loved it because I could drive the whole thing. And so I was in the car every day. But the thing about that, the radiologists were on call all night long. There was a guy, I stopped at a hospital literally at 12 o'clock at night in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I wanted to get the biggest deal I ever got. Just stopped in, went to the radiology department, asked what radiologist was on staff that night, It was a guy by the name of Dr. Phelps. I'm not sure if Dr. Phelps is still alive anymore. And Dr. Phelps couldn't believe that I was actually in a suit calling on him at 12 o'clock at night, only because I was driving back home. I was going back to Baton Rouge, and I just stopped. It was a huge hospital. And I said, I wonder what's going on in here. So I stopped in. I wanted to get in like an $800,000 deal from that one stop.
Jeez.
Yeah,
That's
it was
incredible.
Yeah, it's true. It's a true, absolute true story. So you could do that back in the day, and nobody was calling on these radiologists at 12 o'clock at night. They were the only ones there. It's usually one guy. So because they had to read the stuff from the ER and all those studies that were coming through, there was always a radiologist there. So you could make calls.
I love that. I love the fact that you just are like, on a whim, I'm just going to do that. But now obviously it's changed. How did you translate what you're doing in terms of being physically there and being on the road and doing that into what you can do on the phone, which, by the way, everyone who's watching and listening, a virtual device, right? This is like people are always talking about virtual presentation on video, but the phone and the techniques, on the screen, 2 out of these 3 people are fantastic cold callers and have mastered the skill, but still learn how to use it every single day. So Joe, like, what are maybe some practical things that you did when you were transitioning from doing this, palm to palm, face to face kind of stuff, where you had to transition it into the phone? What are some principles that you've used?
Well, I'll talk kind of specifically about COVID, because COVID really kind of changed the game for me. I was, and Dan, I know you've gotten one or two of these. I'm a huge believer in if the market's right for you, if you don't have to call, if you don't have 20,000 different customers, it's not going to work. But if, like me, I have a very selected group of clients or potential clients, I send handwritten, everything done by hand, the hard way. And I send that. I haven't really done an analysis, but I know it's got to be in the high 80s at least. I may not sell them, but I will contact them. I will get contact with them to even have the chance to sell. I think it's even more important today, quite frankly. But COVID changed the game for me, because now people aren't in their office. So this going to an office ain't happening.
Right.
And you don't want to, even though you can get the data, you don't want to sound like a weirdo, or, you're stalking somebody at their house. So what I did, and I use this with Dan, when I want to get in touch with him, is I'll take either this note like this, write it out still like I would if I'm going to put it in the mail, and I will put it in the mail still, but then I'll shoot a video of it, of me actually reading it. So I'll take the camera, boom. So I'm reading it. I have isn't that great? And so I'll take a video of that and either email that. Sometimes that gets rejected because of the firewalls, or if I know their mobile phone, that's the kill shot. So if you do that, if you send a video of you reading your own personal note on a mobile device.
Yeah, but he's done even on a small level. Tell him about just taking a picture of it. Yeah.
Write it on a Post-it. You want to be really cheap and quick. Write it on a Post-it note and just take a photograph of it and send it.
And then he's done that. He's texted me a note. In fact, just yesterday he said, "Should we get on the phone 10 minutes early just to square things up, see what I should do there?" So what do you think I did as soon as I got that text? I picked up the phone and I called him.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like
it's about attention, right?
It's like he took the time, that extra effort. I owe it to him just to pick up the bloody phone,
and no one else is doing it.
No one
else is doing it, and it separates you. It's a differentiator, and with that value of like, okay, this guy wrote something, sent a video, took that extra.
Look, I'm pulling them out of my garbage can. Look, I've got them.
Hold it up to the camera.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it might be too much light on it, but
there you go. Boom. But you can see he has neat handwriting. You got to have
that helps.
Yeah.
But I'm doing these, so I just do it, take a photograph of it, throw it away. But it is.
And by the way, Post-it notes available on Amazon. Just
I know
letting you know, it's I'm that type of guy. I'm always offering value here. He goes on, but yeah, see that's the type of old school stuff. So it all works. It's all communication. We started just sounding good on the phone. By the way, I have a good microphone too. Because a lot of people are doing presentations. Listen, if you're doing presentations on your computer from your house and all that stuff, have a decent background, have some good lighting, but man, make sure you have a good mic. Chris Stone is like in the business. What mics do you recommend, Chris Stone?
Well, the Samsung Q2 is what you've got, and we recommend that all the time for someone who just wants to. And I know Dan, you had various different mics that you were using. I was like, this thing is $60. You can get it on Amazon. You can plug it right into your computer, and it will take away all of that weird noise because it's a dynamic microphone. It won't because your sound bounces around off of bright walls, but that's a dynamic microphone. It takes away that stuff.
Dynamic.
And so that's what and I have a number of those, but I've got a Sony a Shure MV7 microphone that I'm using, and of course the Parrot of Blueness, the Blue Parrot is rocking over there.
But
with
you
Joe
don't
Moore.
recommend
Yep.
you don't recommend the Orange Veti anymore.
You know what? It works for people. It really does. I mean,
Okay.
I was actually listening in a Clubhouse room, and they were talking about starting. These people are starting podcasts, and I think if you're comfortable with that microphone and you think your voice sounds good, like whatever keeps you moving, so you hit the dang button and record. That's the microphone for you. It's just like, so if people think, okay, this is going to make me more confident as a podcaster, I think there are better sounding mics and less expensive mics. But man, if you want to do it, then go get it. And if you're going to feel great about having it, and that's going to make you actually do a podcast or do a show, then that's your mic.
Yeah.
I mean, and you could sound great. So it's just a matter of what's going to get you to hit the button. That's really your mic.
That's it. Speaking of great, Joe, you look great. You lost like 700 pounds. What's going on?
Yeah, about 700.
Well, you're always worried when someone loses weight. Is everything okay?
I remember you calling me going, "Are you okay?" I went,
Yeah.
What's going on? He goes, "Well, God, you lost a lot of weight, man." I'm like, yeah, because I was really fat.
Well, every once in a while you hear stuff, that somebody died, and you're like, "What the?"
Let me tell you, when you get to be 60, and you go, "Oh, this like a famous guy died, and he was 58." I went, So yeah.
So what are you doing?
I'll tell you a real quick story. My mom got cancer about 12 years ago. My wife came to me and said, your mom really needs to be eating more plant-based diet. I was like, bunch of crap. I don't believe it. I got all this background in biochemistry, and then I started really kind of digging into it. I went, yeah, probably could help. And I went to her and said, hey, you paid for some of this education. You might as well get some benefit from it. Here's what I think we should do. And we started eating a lot better. And I dropped a bunch of weight, put a little bit back on, but she did so great.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah, they were giving her like, oh, you got 6 months to live. Well, 3 years later, she's still running around her house in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And it made a big difference. It made so we're doing we're juicing and blending and all kinds of stuff.
I'm telling you, the Vitamix will change your life. You can, if you start doing now, Chris, you do plant-based stuff now, right?
I do. I worked it into more of a hybrid thing now.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, there's not one specific, one size fits all in terms of diet. It really just listen to your body. And I always give things the try, and plant-based diet was, I'm not like Kurt Mercadante. I'm not a carnivore yet. So I might try that.
Yeah.
I might try the whole carnivore thing where it's
He and I are going to have it out
meat.
next week.
Yeah, I might turn into a caveman. I might show up on one of your streams, Dan, and just be covered in hair. But I think it's like, you got to listen to your body. And yeah, the Vitamix was something that, we had a Vitamix for years, just like you, Dan, because they last forever. If you buy them, you talk about investing. If you invest in your health, a Vitamix, in your health, the Vitamix is like the number one thing, because you can just grab all the good stuff and make something really simple and pack it into a smoothie and then just like sip it throughout the day. And that's kind of what I was doing until I figured out how to make really good plant-based food. Yeah. I was making lots of smoothies that had lots of green stuff in it. And so, I was feeling pretty regular around, let's just put it that way. And there's nothing like a plant-based diet to make that element of your life go very smoothly, right?
It's funny that you say that, because I had, of all the inappropriate things I've said, this is going to be probably the worst, but
maybe not.
Can't be.
Well, you ever wake up one day and you look in the mirror and you see your father?
Oh yeah.
You've done that, Joe Miller? Okay.
And
well,
my father.
When you eat the same foods as your family did, and odor arises from some sort of thing, you could smell your father too. And so that like,
wow. Wow.
That was the cleanest way I could say that, but it's so true. It was like, I'm like, Dad. It was a very, good moment, actually. But no, I have a neighbor. I'm just a big fan of Sir Mix-a-Lot here. I have a neighbor who is the guy. I guess I could say his name. Well, actually, his name is Joe too. So anyway, so he's really in bad shape. Very bad scoliosis. Has terrible. He's all bent over. Have a hard time. Tons of like gastrointestinal and heart problems, all this stuff. But his sister's taking care of him. His wife died, so his sister's taking care of him. And she came down with with diabetes, and she's in really bad shape too. So she has to have like a transplant or what have you. And so in the meantime, she went to she got a book and she got a Vitamix, and all she eats is like these almost like prescription smoothies. She's cured. I mean, she's like cured. Amazing. She's healthy. It's the crazy. Every time I go there, she makes me a smoothie. And she goes, "You're going to add years to life." This is saving her life. It's crazy, and I'm a big fan of it. Winter and summer. Summer is all smooth, but winter you can make soups in the thing all day long. And you think it costs a lot of money because you're spending $500 or so for a blender. But like you said, it lasts 10 years. But here's where you really save the money. You don't throw food out anymore. As soon as your fruit and stuff starts getting old, hey, we got to use this. Just throw the bad boy in and have at it. And so you're all there. I don't know why we're talking about Vitamixes now, Joe. Joe Miller, you didn't expect to come on this show and talk about blenders, did you?
No, but I'm happy to talk about blenders too.
Okay. So you are healthy. Things are going well. You're losing weight and all that stuff. How long you been married?
Over 20 years.
Really?
To wife number 3.
Oh, to wife number 3.
He had a few practice wives. Yeah. Well, that's good. Okay.
Yeah. So you're a good. So this is interesting. So I mean, total respect when I say it like this, but and I'm sure she's a lovely woman. But the new one, when you were, people don't like to be referred to as the new one.
No,
but when there had to have been a time where she had a question in her head that she said, "Hey, you've already had 2 failures here. I don't want to be number 3. What are you doing wrong?" How did you overcome that objection, Mr. Salesman?
I think that was just an overtime thing. That was not. That was you didn't answer that objection in one shot. That was continuous objections over years of time. So yeah, that was. That's not something you solve in one day. I can tell you that.
So how long did you guys date?
About a year or so.
Okay, so but you have to live it, and that's also a sales thing that I train younger guys too. I said when you first get a job for your first 3 months, nobody, not your bosses, not your your coworkers, and certainly not your prospects and customers. Nobody believes you're going to make it 3 months. Your first 3 months, they're just ready for you to quit. They're planning on you to quit. They know that something's going to happen. Now, if you last 3 months, now you've built some street cred. Now you can move on. But the first 3 months, it's just you're clawing, and nobody's believing you. Oh.
And that's where the training should be happening, quite frankly.
In that first 3 months? Yeah, but the training. So what was your best training? Was your best training? I'm curious about this. Was it an actual class, or did you learn more from your customers than you did in that class?
I'll give you 2 quick examples. One of which is one of the first real nice jobs so I got into like pharmaceutical sales real quick. Wife number 2, we all lived in New Orleans. She moved to Houston. I moved with her, and I was interviewing. I was like, I've only been a sales guy for like 6 months, and this job opened up as in laboratory sales and medical laboratory sales, and I interviewed for it, got the job. Since I had worked in a medical lab before, they made me the quote unquote urinalysis specialist. That was my job. So I was sold urinalysis testing equipment. That was my first really kind of big, multi going around the country gig, right? And but the training was like, just the technical training was 2 weeks, and then after that it was months. I mean, I would make sales calls with the area sales manager, and we would make sales calls together. And he and I today are still very, very close friends. I call him Daddy. He's like my second father. He was a huge influence, but it started with training. He was trained and trained and trained. I mean, he drilled it into me. And the thing too was the first sales call we go on. I'll never forget that. And he will remind me of this every time we talk. I remember we go to we're in San Antonio. We go to the first sales call, and like the prospect just sets the opening up, just sets the table to just go at it, right? And I was like, I didn't know what to do. And he jumped in and saved the day. And he gets to the car, he goes, "How many weeks have we been working on this?" That was like real corporate, back in the day, corporate training for, months at a time.
Yeah.
Now I'll tell you the other example. I was selling radiology equipment. I met a guy, a radiology manager in Baton Rouge, which is where I was living at the time. He moved to Huntsville. And he just liked me for some reason. And he's like, "I'm buying this equipment. Can you come up here?" I said, "Yeah, sure." I didn't know what I was selling. I didn't know. It was pure, just friend to friend personality thing. I got up there. His name was Lamar Chenault. I said, "Lamar, I don't understand this stuff." I spent 3 weeks. I called my boss. I said, "Look, I'm going to spend a lot of time up here." And he's like, "Fine, I don't care." And I spent 3 weeks in Huntsville, and he taught me about nuclear medicine. He taught me the whole thing. And after that,
the buyer taught you?
Buyer and technical. Like, here's technically what your stuff does superior than anybody else. And this is what you need to know. And I mean, back in the day, right? You wouldn't be able to do this today. He would give me films. Like, take these around, show these doctors this. This is why, and then this is what you want to do with this, and tell them why this is the way it is. And then he also would act as kind of a quasi consultant for me. If they ever had a question, they could just call him up and talk to him. So he was super knowledgeable about what he was doing, and he helped train me. So that was on the job training there. So kind of 2 examples.
That's beautiful. That's a great way to put a cap on this. It's not the training program or the class that you went to. It's the person. It's the manager. Those managers need to be coaches. Yeah, not just looking at the numbers. And in the corporate world, that's a challenge right now. I think that really is the biggest change that's happened. It's so easy
Yep.
to read a dashboard and know how many calls, how many contacts, how many presentations, how many sales. It's so easy that's all people do, and they look at the numbers and they forget that true manager can't just say, hey, look what happened last week. They need to go out on calls with you and make that happen. So have you done that for anybody?
Yes, I have.
Yes. So
people
how
at
many
work,
people call you daddy?
I'm not going to go there again. But anyway, I have a lot of people, and you know it's really interesting. Is that I have people I trained and managed 30 years ago that I still talk to. I find that to be the most enjoyable part, is that I have long relationships with people that worked for me a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and but the training never ends. You know that. It never stops.
And it's fun. It's always changing. Well, that's terrific. So you have one thing before we go. You have a daughter. You want to say hi to her?
Macy,
yes.
I know you're in Dallas selling right now. Thank you for following in your dad's footsteps.
Okay, well, that's terrific. Well, I can't tell you how much
Joe, we've got a question from somebody on
question.
Amazon.
Uh-oh.
And this is Jillian. She's asking, what are your opinions on multi-level marketing businesses?
I think they're great. I think it's I think it's fantastic, because what you can do, I think this is my personal opinion, and you asked for an opinion, I'll give you one. If you believe in the product, I think it's going to be great, but it's a great force multiplier. I mean, for instance, right now it's me. I'm making the sales calls. I'm picking up the phone, doing stuff. I'm only me. If you're able to get a big downline that of people working for you, that's the force multiplier in MLM. And if that works for you, it can be super lucrative. I think MLM's great. I know MLM gets a bad rap, but just make sure that you know the company you're working for and you believe in the products.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. The biggest bonus to being part of a multi-level marketing thing is the business training. It changes you. You're never the same person that comes out of an MLM that went in, because now you're thinking differently. Now you've got your own LLC. Now you're getting started.
That's
now
right.
You understand the idea of recruiting. Now you understand the idea of selling, and how to adapt and adjust and to improvise based on different things, because the products change. You have to add more products, and there's all that other stuff. But the main thing that you get, and this is beautiful about sales in general and why it's the best business in the world, and it really is, you have the opportunity to create something from nothing, and you with an idea and a product, and you find a person that it fits, and you have their needs. And then those people that you meet, that database of people that you have, that you've built up, those friendships, those people you're in business with, like Joe Miller said, he's talking about people that 30 years ago he's still in contact with. These people become your friends. They become your promoters. They become your security blanket when anything happens in your life. It is the best thing you can do to start to give yourself the most security of your financial future by accumulating more people that see you on a different level than just a friend with business. You help somebody earn money and change their lifestyle, baby, they're with you forever. Joe Miller, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming here today.
Love it, guys.
I got
to give you one of these on the way out.
You got to do that better. Chris Stone, best producer in the world. He actually makes this look easy. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background that only he does, and he does it for big companies and everybody. If anybody's looking to start their podcast or their production or do weekly things like this, please contact him. He's as good as they get. And for all you out there that are considering getting into the world of sales, know this, and please know this: you're already in sales, baby. It's already happening. You're just lousy at it until you take the advice of Joe Miller and continually improve yourself. The art of practicing sales is the art of practicing personal development. It's the same thing. You're a better person when you admit to yourself that you're in sales. You guys are the best. I'm the Deej. We'll see you next time. Go get them today.